Between the sleeps.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fifth Perspective. With everything going on in the world and it being crazy and the chaos, I decided that today I'm going to share messages I received from Spirit for hours that really helped me let go of severe traumas, just things that were always weights that followed me through my whole life. I mean, I literally even did 10 years of therapy, and whatever this message was that all came in my chest, it helped me gain so much more understanding than I ever did in any of those sessions. So oftentimes I'll do this thing where I kind of have to seclude myself and be in solitude to rework my energy back up from whatever heaviness I'm feeling from just even like a normal day, because we don't realize how much we're depleted throughout the day, whether you're around people who have vampiric energies or just like things that go wrong in the day. So I'll get to this point where once I feel like I have restored the energy enough, I will shift myself from here in my head more into my chest, and I start meditating and just getting in a quiet place. And the messages, it's like so much information just getting like slammed in my chest that I'll have to hit record on my phone, because as I'm receiving it in my chest, I'm saying it out loud slowly, and because my brain is also trying to process this, and I don't always remember everything I say. So when I listen back to myself, it can be pretty interesting as well, as if like I'm hearing half of it for the first time. The whole thing that catapulted me to even start a YouTube channel was the mess I went through during Christmas with my family. I've been trying to do a lot of healing to move forward from these past traumas, and I'm sure all of you can relate how hard it can be with family that, without them realizing it, continue same patterns that you have shifted away from. And oftentimes too, it's very difficult because when your energy resonates lower, you attract other lower resonating people, right? And then when the people who resonate higher, they attract higher resonating people. When someone is a lower resonating person and they work through their life to start doing practices, whether it's like, I don't know, whatever it helps to ground yourself, whether it's meditating, binaural beats, hikes in the middle of nature away from people, whatever that is for you, your energy will start to go higher. And the more you do this, it'll stay there. You just kind of need to do it not as much as before, because it's a lot easier to get right into it. It's like when you practice meditating, it's very hard to get the mind to stop running everywhere. And so even in my life, like working my way up, because I was resonating very low in Chicago for like 10 years when I was in hell of just going through suffering in my body every day and being stuck in it, and all these drugs they were putting me on that wasn't working. And I really had to learn to listen to my body. There will be a time where I feel ready to share the story. It's a very long story about this one car accident that was the fork in the road of my life in this dimension going this way, while then another dimension it went this way. And this way that I chose became the much harder way. But I am grateful for the things that I healed in, that I learned. And a lot of times, it does take people that suffer through these things to be able to be a healer themselves, or in some way, or help people or sympathize, or I feel like my gift with spirits was given to me early on as a kid in first grade. I feel like my grandpa kind of gave it to me, like it was given to me as a gift for his departure. And he has been a solid, like my own solid, like spirit guide, guardian angel of mine that has been through my side and would visit me a lot in my dreams during this time too. He still does. I had it again in November, but it pulled me through when I really didn't think I would get through. And so as I started resonating higher over the years, that's when other people would fall away, or certain jobs fall away that resonate lower. You're not here anymore, you're here. So then it falls away and you start attracting the other things that resonate similarly, that are higher. And that's very difficult with family, because they're your family. You can't, change who they are. So it did put up boundaries for me majorly. I took a major step back, time out, because I realized that I, for some reason, was endlessly searching for this unconditional love, feeling seen, through people that aren't ever really going to be that for me. I do see who it is from, like where I get the unconditional love from, where they're there no matter what. But it was painful realizing, okay, that my negative core beliefs, unfortunately, are true for like X amount of people, right? So navigating family can be really hard. And they did hurt me very badly. Over holiday and all last year was just so difficult for me. And I got very physically ill all last year, like this month. Well, in January and leading into February is like the first time I'm really starting to feel better. And something in me, I just felt like, oh, that weight and stuff like building in me. There was nowhere else for it to go. I was so physically ill from what I was going through emotionally, like feeling grieving of like not understanding why a family member disappeared in my life, not understanding, and it was a lot of misunderstandings. And if there was communication, it would have been resolved, but it wasn't. So it was this year of nonsense that destroyed me on every single level. And I just felt the energy combust off me. And weirdly, after that moment, the physical pain I was feeling like went down, if not almost away. And I just knew I had to come home, get in solitude I was like, I'm going to go home, be away from everything for 2 weeks, like regenerate my energy. And on Christmas Day, I was determined to really get the messages that I needed for this whole spiritual journey I was on last year. A lot of times we forget that we get angry when the bad things happen to us, right? But I realized again, like when the hell broke loose last year for me physically, I'm like, oh my God, there's nothing else I could possibly learn, And I was wrong. Because in the turmoil that we go through, we forget that bad things aren't happening to us, The good things and bad things are happening for us. And they happen for us because those things help shape us in who we are. It's constantly preparing us and shifting us for better change if we decide to be aware of it and accept that. So anyway, part of my healing last year, I knew that I needed to cut certain hereditary energies. I did go back home to go to my Baba's church because it's a Serbian church, and I know I just needed anyone with that energy, right? Like to do a blessing for me. So what I learned in things we use, like whether it's holy water, cross, sage burning, Palo Santo burning, I don't know why certain things work, they just do. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with how we don't even understand the energy we're capable of. Like I shared a thing before on how we have no idea still the power of frequency and color even combined for healing. Scientists learning that water can hold memory. And so I believe that these things have power of good and cleansing and healing because this is what the mass majority of us put behind these things. Those specific things that are used, right? So it's just the same way for the bad, dark things, like I don't want to say the word, but for like the evil stuff that people do in their rituals and stuff. Again, that energy, that bad, heavy energy is going behind these things or those symbols. Thus, it has that energy with it. So for me, it was just more of the energy sense of a blessing that I knew I needed to cut the cords of this connection. So I did that, and after doing that, and I got this cross, again, energy behind the symbol. The one that I wore in the car accident I should have died in was a miracle, and I knew it was a miracle because I was wearing this. Again, that'll be in the other story. So that helped break that. Then I dove into trying to I didn't know what my body was going to bring up when I was doing this purge. I thought that I was done after these things with men came up. I almost had this image of like a thin surface over me of like peeled skin, but it meshes so well with me that I just haven't seen it for so long. And it felt like this energy I attracted of this like heaviness, right? Like almost like a woman that looked older and like that banshee kind of vibe, like sitting over me and like creating these energetic blocks towards me meeting the right person for me or somebody right that could teach me healthy love one day. Anyway, the purge came up. I could vividly see this very clearly, and I felt it leave me. I thought it was done, and then after that, the wildest thing happened where so I was seeing like 21 all day. And I'm like, I don't know what that means because ever since my car accident, I get the number 35 for guidance. Which I learned later because it was always connected, was more of the Om symbol. And I remember like when I got to the Airbnb, where I was staying in the desert, I felt something tell me to go outside and look up at the sky. So I did. And there was the number 21 in white clouds. And between the 2 and 1, I see this spiritual figure standing in this like robe. And I was like, I was trying to gauge what this was like from my chest. And what I felt was, first time ever for me, that this, I still have a hard time saying it, sorry, but that this was Jesus, that figure. Okay, that's what I felt. I was like, is this a saint? Is this God? Is this an angel? No, like I felt that. Didn't even know why until later that night. then suddenly all these feelings come up of what I have carried with me since 20 years old from that car accident in 2007. And I remember, like, I went on hating life, like wanting to die. I mean, that decade was like me battling suicidal thoughts like every single day. And I was getting visitations like crazy from my grandpa, from demons that were in transition telling me that I had to change. I even saw myself in hell. I hated everything. I was angry I was alive. I didn't understand why I survived, because why did I survive if I'm stuck in my body and in this pain and I can't get out of bed every day, barely, you know? And if I did get out of my house, I would do anything and everything. Like I would get shit-faced drunk, you name it, so that I could literally just survive a night out because I knew the next day I'd be right back in my bed. So this first year was solid, like not happy about anything. My resignation was so low. And by 21, I had this moment. It was the first time I had with God ever. Where I moved home briefly from Chicago because it was just too much with the pain and I just needed my family to help me. I was coming back from like a personal trainer in the gym. Bad idea, was far from even ready from that. And it was just making me worse. I was in a lot of pain. And I mean, like, I'd be like rolling out of bed, like picking my head up. I wouldn't be able to even hold my head up. I wouldn't be able to do the most basic things like my laundry or like nothing. Okay. So we're driving by this field. It's like a road going parallel to the railroad tracks, and there's a field on the other side. And I'm looking at this field, and something happened where suddenly I felt all this, my energy just funnel to the field, and everything outside of me in this field were void. I had no other thought in my mind except for this field. And I thought to myself, wow, this field is so beautiful. And after I said that, that was my first thing that I like really appreciated, okay, since almost dying at 20. So a year later, I'm appreciating this field. Wow, this field is so beautiful. I felt that truly. Not an ounce of me thought otherwise. 100% of me felt this. And suddenly my chest fills with this light, love, joy, peace. I mean, it was so much. And I knew that I was just getting a little grain of what this was. And this is like what was God. And it's feeling so strong where I'm like, I start like hyperventilating where I'm like, because I thought my chest was going to explode. It could barely handle this grain. And I hear God say to me, and I hear it in my chest. So hearing is different. I don't hear it from my ears all the time. I hear in here. It's information. And I hear, you are forgiven, but now you must forgive yourself. And in that moment, I split in half. Half of me was so unbelievably grateful to receive this forgiveness. Unbelievably grateful. I mean, like I just started crying from the amount I felt grateful. And then the other half of me that could not forgive myself. I could not forgive myself. That the grief I felt was so immense that I knew that all the pain I felt, all the grief I felt was my doing, was because of me. And again, I'm just crying just as hard because of the grief. So I completely split in half because in that moment at 21 years old, I knew that I could not do it yet. I could not forgive myself and I didn't even know how. So fast forward then to my birthday last year. The next thing that comes up is this whole thing with me at the field. And I do also remember after this accident, when one of the first visions I had within the first minute me closing my eyes was a gold, like somebody was drawing a circle really, really, really fast in gold. And the number 35 appeared small and started growing and growing till it filled that circle. And then the number shook and shot out toward me, like past me, right? I didn't even know what that meant. It all came together full circle, that's for sure. Because the rest of my healing that I was searching for on my birthday brought me back to that field. And it was the first time ever. It's just like, some things just don't make sense to you before, and then one day it just clicks. It's kind of like that. Like finally, the feeling came up where I was like, wait a minute. Like I fully 100% with not an ounce of anything else in me, finally felt like I could forgive myself. And from that moment, I saw like I projected backward every single year, 38, 37, 36, 35, all the way back to 21 at that moment at that field. And I see this half of a circle shape being drawn again really fast, similar to that vision I had with the whole circle, right? And the 35. Half a circle being drawn really fast. And it changed to being a full circle being drawn really, really fast. And I felt this completeness that I didn't even know. Like, I didn't even know that since that accident at 20 years old, okay, I kept repeating the same patterns of bizarre health stuff over and over again, like to do with like pain and stuff to do with that accident, getting rear-ended over and over again, like never feeling like I could really get career down, it just never really got there because every time I thought I could focus on it, I was thrown right back at more health stuff. And then never feeling like I like fully could get myself together to be ready to want to meet the right person for me, right? My partner I'm going to build this life with. I'm like 38 thinking like, okay, well, I guess I never will. I will say it's taught me to be okay with whichever way it goes. Like the main importance for me was being my best self. I didn't want to compromise anything, not even down to where I lived. Like I am in LA for a reason, because the main reason was for my health, because I knew I was not doing well with rain or the cold and all that stuff, because I was so sensitive in my body with pain that I knew that I needed to stabilize it somehow. And I got a message again telling me, move to LA, you will get better here. I just didn't know. I thought it was just physical. I didn't know it'd be on every single level, right? And so literally when this half circle goes into a whole circle, I felt myself not only forgive myself at 38 years old, but it projected backwards where I forgave myself present time, all those other ages, present time at 21 years old, back at that field. I forgave myself and I felt everything connect and I felt complete, and I fell to my knees. I was like crying so hard and like laughing too, and just such in this state of like pure joy. And I fell to my knees crying so hard, like, oh my God, I cannot believe 19 years, is it? 20, 30, okay, 18 years that I could not forgive myself. This is something that I want people to understand. All those religions that teach you the fear of God and all this stuff and what we think and how hard it is for us to forgive each other, okay? We are so much harder on each other and ourselves than God is on us. Literally, it took me appreciating a field and thinking that it was beautiful to have full forgiveness from God. And I could not do it for myself for 18 years. I learned a lot that day. I learned a lot in that moment on my birthday that I know is so vital for me that I knew I had to do. Like that year, I was in so much pain. I was just done. I'm like, teach me the rest of everything I need to know that I'm unaware of so that I can finally be complete and move forward in my life and stop falling back on these cycles. And that's what I sought after, because my reality all last year, it was so different from everyone else. Everybody else was still such in this physical world, running around, right? Doing their thing, going out with friends, doing their job. Again, me, I'm barely getting out of my house again. And I was bedridden for, I don't know, again, like a lot of it, trying not to throw up and so much insane pain, which now I learned that everything I felt that didn't make sense. Like I promise you, if you listen to this channel, I will teach you how to listen to your body, because the way the system is set up with doctors, they will never just tell you what to do next or help you figure out what the problem is. They give you the pills to cover up the problems that then create more problems. And that's what happened to me in those 10 years before. So much of my illness came down to food. So much of it came down to food. I mean, like they had me on morphine, legalized morphine, and Klonopin, which like people commit suicide from trying to get off of. So much garbage, okay? Because they're taught to just give you the pharmaceuticals. They have to. They'll never like really talk about food. They won't talk about vitamins or anything holistically, right? Because then it's not a business and they're not making money. You know, this is why you have specialists separated out. And it's much harder. So it takes like a year to figure this thing out than figuring it out in like a month or two, right? Because you don't have a team of people that can test you for all the possibilities of what it can be, right? So it really taught me to listen to my body. I know what pain means what. I knew something was very wrong with me all last year. Like, I mean, and I also, because of what I learned 10 years before, I knew that all these separate things came down to like pretty much one main thing. I thought it was forever like a herniated disc from the whiplash again, but a cervical epidural only made that 40% better. And I learned, so like to me, like that's not the main source of the problem. And with the food when I went to do 3 days of fasting, I kid you not, I did 3 days of fasting, 3 weeks of juicing, 2 weeks of raw diet only, and then I introduced foods to see what I reacted to. Because if we just keep eating foods and you don't do that detox, you don't know what you're getting like sick from, because it's so prominent in your body already. And it was clear as day, like, no, stop eating the high fat dairies, stop drinking alcohol, not even a glass of that, unless it's like an organic wine, sake, or like sugar-free organic wine. Like I'm better with that. Everything else, no. Stop the sweets too. And the first accident, the 10-year of hell, the thing that made me better, that they wanted to diagnose me with fibromyalgia, was just getting off gluten. Like it was enough and I felt normal again. And then I spent the next few years retraining my muscles to let go and re-strengthening and, you know, all of that. So because I dove deep all last year and still did, and I went as far as exhausting everything I could have done through pain management. I even tried ketamine IV infusions, which made me worse. Go figure, because it's like the IV in your blood. Problem that I'm realizing because I pushed for a rheumatologist, I'm like, oh, like what I'm feeling makes no sense. Like fatigued, severely fatigued, losing my hair more often, crazy inflammation in my body all the time, that this is why I have to change my diet. And the pain from that, it was like, and like issues with my joints where I would need joint injections, and the severe migraines. And I mean like through your whole head, neck here, you want to throw up every single day. You're nauseous. This was me all last year. That came down to food again. And because I got my blood tested with rheumatology, finally, they see me borderlining autoimmune, but it's not enough. I have to retest in 3 months. But there is a high platelet level in my blood, which is concerning, which is causing all the issues, including the high calcium and high cholesterol. So if I really pay attention to when this started, it started after the last whiplash, and you can get a high platelet level in your body from an injury because your body can get stuck thinking it's injured, right? And it keeps producing a high amount of inflammation, which is attacking the muscles that are in those more chronic areas. And this then causes the platelet level to increase. So I'm really hoping that I finally figured it out and that I can be put on the right thing to resolve this and feel normal again. So all the mayhem, right? On this physical plane, people think good and bad. You know, when something's bad, it's bad. No, on the other side, if something bad happens to you, but essentially good things come out of it, it's seen as good. So the fact that I did so much like healing for myself already by my birthday, right? And then I even went even further to figure out what foods were just like an absolute no for me. I mean, God, and then like this YouTube channel I started, songs I wrote during that I absolutely love and want to be on the EP that I put out this year, poetry I wrote that I'm so proud of that would not exist, you know, like all these things start to happen. Which then leads me to Christmas. And I came home early because again, that mess happened and I was too sensitive still in my body, emotionally and all that. And I was just drained after with my family. So I listened to myself on what I needed, and myself was yelling at me like, go back to LA, go home, go in solitude. By Christmas Day, your energy will be built up enough and you're going to dive in to get the messages that you need so that the pains from your family and your traumas and these things that hold you back and make you regress in yourself stop happening. And that's what I did. So on Christmas Day, and I'm going to try to explain this, and I'm going to challenge everybody to take in this information I'm going to share next. Some of it was even hard for me to take in, but I'm going to challenge everybody to try to open your perception and take this in. So the message that freed me completely, because it was like when I receive them, it's like I just understand it on such a deeper level. Sometimes if it's someone else, I'll understand it as if I'm that person. Okay, so the message I got starting out, and I'm going to try to compress it down of like, because this was hours of information. I would be part of the thing I was thinking in this meditation state. The thought of my anger I held for a very long time on being born individually, separate, and having to forget what we learned before every single time. I did not believe in reincarnation until it was thrown in my face and my friend's face of a past life we had, and we put it all together from things we felt as a kid and all the dreams we had, and I found who he is. I still want to find who I am. I have no idea who I was, but I know who he was. Anyway, I would get this saltiness and like anger, like why is it this system where we come here in a physical world and the biggest trick that we get tricked on every single time, this physical world tricks you in thinking everything is so separate, right? That we're separate individuals, we're separate whatever we are, entities, we're living our separate lives, right? You're alone in this. and not remembering anything from before, because I'm like, oh my God, if we just remembered what we remembered before, it'd be a lot easier. I finally understand why. So this is like an earth school. And what we don't realize is, like, we are still not in the point where we see energy and how it's working all the time. I reached a phase where I could see this, and I'll share stories on that too, because I could visually see what was happening through people's actions, feelings, or how someone would have like an illness in their body from how energy was running. But we are still so stuck on this physical life that we have zero idea the power we have of how everything we do in this physical world matters. It really does. We're born separately, where we forget what we learned before. We start new, innocent as a baby. Innocent, and the most pure version of innocence, and the most pure version of light and love, right? And that peace. As we get older, unfortunately, this reality is one of good and bad together. And the things that unfortunately we teach on comparing to each other, or like literally competing against each other all the time. And okay, these ways start to break us down. Things that we experience start to break us down, right? Whereas when love was easy to experience, it becomes very hard, where you get more scared, you get more protective over feeling love for somebody. And it's so funny how we get broken down, and then we spend this life trying to search for what happiness is and love is. And we try to get back what we had at the beginning, as in that innocence, almost, in a way. But we'll never get there because of the things we go through. But that's okay, because every life we have is a life experience. And what we're doing is that we are compiling the information of what we learned our most, even if we made all the wrong choices and chose all the wrong things, and fell deeper and deeper into like severe depression and becoming like a bad person, okay? Everybody, you're gathering what you learned through decisions, through everything. Every one individual life is so unique and different from the next. And we've had many lives before that we don't remember, and we'll have many lives that we will have in the future. All we're doing, we're constantly being reborn to learn for ourselves what love is at its most, what happiness is, and compiling this information, because in past lives we had gaps we missed. So then you're having these new lives trying to learn and fill those gaps, right? Because every generation is surpassing the ones before. And we're even reaching a point where we're seeing certain beliefs and certain religions are going to eventually chip away more and fall away, and a new thing might come in place of spirituality instead, right? We're constantly surpassing generations before. So once our life experience is done, we pass to the other side, and I have seen how we don't die alone. Past loved ones will come and help us cross over. But like the wildest thing I remember seeing was when my great aunt was passing. Every angel that came in to greet her, I realized she recognized, and they kept going to the same side as her, on her right side. And they would combine and combine and combine in love, light, peace, all of it, right? Until she accepted that it was her time, and you have to let go of all the physical in order to cross over. And so she accepts it, lets go, combines with them, and they go. And it was an example of how funny the trick of the physical reality, because we get lost like treating strangers like strangers, you know? But at the end of the day, after here, I know all of you and you know me, and I love all of you and you love me. And we literally are all working together for the same thing, bringing information to the other side to compile together as a whole. Because when we cross over from here, we come together as one. And then I'm laughing at like how the brain wants to get you to identify and stay locked in this physical reality, this one life. Okay, my chest is capable of so much more. And so the brain, even the things I learn and realize, my brain almost wants to be like, oh, but no, because this trauma happened to you. No, but no, like you're not okay because this is that. No, like I surpassed way past that, because I understand this is one life of many. And right now, what I identify with is because I don't remember all those things. But once we shed this physical life and we cross over to the other side, we are many lives. We are many things we learned. And it just like weirdly made it easier then to not hold on to these angers and pains that I would have against family members or people who wronged me or whatever it is. And I understood that all of us being one of the same, that tacky saying of like, when you forgive someone, you forgive yourself. When you hurt someone, you hurt yourself. And I'm laughing because I realize, oh my God, that is really unbelievably, like that is so true. Because I am you and you are me, right? Like we're all one and the same. We get so lost on these divisions of race, of gender, of country, these made up lines of country, made up lines of states in the US. You know, like we come here as one, as part of the world as a whole, and we literally divide it up. This is the wildest thing. And what we don't understand in this life and what we didn't understand in our past lives, no, you will be born to experience that life. We're constantly compiling energy to understand everything and each other. We just don't realize it here. And in all the craziness of the good and the bad are actually symbiotically working together to compile information on the other side. The good needs the bad in order for the good to exist. We would not even know what good was without the bad. And we would not have these moments of people shedding these outer physical things that we divide on, right? To come together and put those walls down of being strangers in a way, to come together and work together and show care and show sympathy and show love. Even the fires in LA that just happened, I saw that happen. But I'll tell you, it became very clear. I saw like people's inner soul come right out. I knew who the good people were and I knew who the bad people were. You saw it clear as day who were the ones that were learning something from this and wanted to help and wanted to be there and do what they could. Saw the walls come down, strangers coming together. No one cared anymore. And then I saw the others who were so self-centered or destructive and adding to the chaos, right? I saw that too. And like, I was told that in all the chaos that we see, that we think is just so like maybe unbalanced, there's more bad than good or whatever, and all the chaos that happens, it is actually in perfect symbiotic balance between good and bad, like positive and negative of a battery. This positive and negative of the battery is what keeps charging to grow. This positive and negative of the battery is what keeps the universe growing. And in this crazy way, you need the positive and negative. It was like the perfect yin and yang of balance. Like, and all the things that could shift and change in the earth and the chaos and the global warming and whatever, right? Whatever, killings, extinct, blah, 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 this, that, pollution. Somehow, in all that chaos, the earth still produces the same percentage of oxygen. And it never goes over, because if it does, or something goes off by even, I think it was like 1%, the whole planet would combust. And this is like what we're doing. We keep coming back. It's like learning, like a forest took thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of years to learn perfect balance, and the ultimate perfect balance of a forest. I was told that in this, I understood that all the good and all the bad that we experience, the wars, the killings, the hate, right? And then all the good, the celebrations, this, that, is happening not to us, but for us together as a whole. That's a wild concept to even try to comprehend. But it is. Even right now, what we're going through in the world, the craziness with this horrible person that I had a premonition on was going to divide the country and create turmoil and craziness in the world, and that every single time people thought it couldn't get worse, it would. I had that premonition before the first time he was in office. The grieving I had, because I knew what other people didn't know. Even that person, didn't matter if it was that person or something else or whatever, the system wasn't working for a long time anyway. And this person who is scaring people and making shit crazy and horrible, all this horrible stuff, it is pushing for change. That's the good that comes out of it, no matter how horrible it gets. It was just like such a strange image I had of like light and dark in perfect balance together. Because like the sphere, that's the whole, you know? We are this like whole, every single piece of every little thing put together creates this whole thing. And I just understood it on such this deeper level where I was like laughing at like my pain at that point and my traumas at that point. You know? Because whatever I can't forgive my family on, or they judge me on, right? Or someone is just so hurtful that they like abandon me and I don't even know why. I forgive them. I'm still hurt, but I forgive them. I forgive them. I love them. We not might understand each other, because I know that when we cross to the other side, all the judgments, the anger, whatever we did or couldn't forgive, we drop it all and we accept each other as whole. You know, in judgments, even in this physical reality, I know it's very hard for us because it does get hard to understand other people. It does. But when we have those judgments and we're holding to it on someone, that energy sticks to that person and that person continues to be that way. If we were able, even in the worst thing possible that someone could have done, if we were able to try to ask and learn or look into what happened in their life to make them that way, that helps break that energy off to bring healing and change for the better. There was another important thing that I received. I also remember how I would be very sad on wanting to hold on to certain moments and memories, right? Like if it was like one sunset or a time that you were with all family when this person was alive, or moments you remember from a relationship that, you know, from this person you miss, whatever it is. I understood finally that everything we do in this physical world matters, because everything we do that exists, this a house, you know, a relationship, whatever it is, things we make in this physical reality, what you are doing is that you are mapping it infinitely in the energetic map of space and time. So every single memory we've had that we miss, right? That like, oh, don't worry, because after here, you can go back and visit that moment and sit there as long as you want, because every single thing we do or think or make or whatever infinitely exists in the energetic map of space and time. That was the other message I got. If you could wrap your mind around the importance of that, you know, like maybe there would be less hate, maybe there would be less fighting, maybe there wouldn't be war, maybe there wouldn't, you know what I mean? I know that we're going through a major shift and it's going to take time, but more and more people are experiencing things that even I experience on the clairvoyance side. More and more people have tried these ways that through, you know, getting the house, getting this, like whatever religion, and still severely depressed because we're missing the point. We're missing it. The point of life goes so much further than this physical reality. And we will get there. We will. I honestly believe in the future. Clairvoyants will be the ones to come together to put everything they learned, everything they know, like the similar things, what means what, put it in a new book and be the new teachers for people on trying to practice to open up to reach this other side, to be able to see energetically what we are doing, to be able to see energetically what we are doing in war around a place, to be able to energetically see what we are doing when we celebrate together or sing together, right? I believe there's going to be a shift in the future eventually. That was another thing I felt in this message. And that in this, this progress will happen quicker because now you have your kids that you're bringing, right, to practice these things. And at youth, when you are a child that young and more of innocence, it is much easier to get reached by the other side. It's much easier to experience these things than it is as an adult. So I think kids will be learning this younger too. And in this practice, I do really feel like we are going to really start to learn what we are actually capable of on an energetic sense, on a spiritual level of the gifts we have, whether it's communicating telepathically and you just know, or being able to understand how to emit the energy from your hands, like how Reiki teaches you to do for healing, but it's just a lot easier and like that. What we are capable of as physical human beings and spiritual beings on this plane is so much more. And so kind of putting all these messages together that I learned, it was like, it just helped me not identify so much with this one life. And it helped me, again, be like, all your feelings, all your reactions, all your traumas are based off this one reality and what your brain keeps you locked in. And you're so much more than this one reality and this one brain, right? Like, because I know this can take on so much more than this. This is slow and almost like 2D. It wants to stay on the grid that it believes that it's stuck in. It never wants to budge. So that essentially helped me shed everything and feel happy for once in my life, even when things aren't all good, even when things aren't all balanced how I would like it to be. So in this craziness that's happening right now in the world, I felt it very important to share this message, to share that any time in your life when you make that choice on really wanting to dive in to do the spiritual healing that you want to do, you can do it. You can. It just has to be like the conscious awareness and effort to do it. And you'll be amazed at the things that surface and that you start to realize and learn. So I do hope this message helps. I have no idea what my next story is going to be. But I'm happy for those that get to get this message. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to this channel, like this video. It helps support me because it does take time, a lot of time to do, whether people realize it or not. And I really do want to continue just getting deeper into teachings of things I learned, teachings of like, physical health stuff I learned, and sharing a lot of these stories for everyone so that we can continuously keep learning and growing together as a whole. Until next time.